Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Vicharini Nirvishesha Shunyavani Aschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You know what's entitled, the 6th chapter?
Dhyana Yoga.
What is it?
Dhyana Yoga.
Dhyana. What does that mean, dhyana?
Meditation.
Meditation, yes. There's 8 steps in the Ashtami 8-part yoga process. You know those 8 steps? If you were following this practice.
Not all, but few.
What's that? What's that? Yam niyam, yes. Just even before you start, there has to be some rules and restrictions. Niyam. Then asana. Then after those, then there's asana, means sitting postures, different postures. Do anybody does it Shirshasana?
Yeah,
You know this one? Shirshasana? What is that one?
that's upside down.
Standing on your head. Yes, you do Shirshasana. Very good. Yeah, good for your health there. The asanas, then pranayama, breathing process. Then dharana. Dharana means what?
Concentration.
You know, we were singing the song Giridhari. Giridhari, Giri Giridhari is a hill, a mountain, and it's holding it. So technically dharana, it has different meanings, but one meaning is to hold on. You're supposed to bring the senses within, and then you gotta hold on because then they come back out again. You follow? So you hold on. And then once you're good at it, then dhyan meditation. And after the perfection of meditation is samadhi, always focused on the absolute truth. So we're in this 6th chapter, and here we are, text 41. I'll chant it. And we're supposed to do 3 or 4 verses today, so we'll see how far we get. Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Ushitva shashvati sama.
Utisva sasvati sama.
Shuchinam srimatam gehe.
Suchinam srimatam gehe.
Yogo brashta vijayate.
Yogo brashta vijayate.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Ushitva shashvati sama.
Usitva sasvati sama.
Suchinam srimatam gehe.
Suchinam srimatam gehe.
Yogo brashto vijayate.
Yogo brashta vijayate.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Ushitva shashvati sama.
Usitva sasvati sama.
Suchinam srimatam gehe.
Suchinam srimatam gehe.
Yogo brashto vijayate.
Yoga Prashta Vijayate.
You like to chant?
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Prapa Punya Kritam Lokam.
Usitva sasvati samaha.
Ushita Shashvati Sama.
Suchinam smritam gehe.
Sujinam Srimatam Gahe.
Yoga brashta vijayate.
Yoga Prashta Vijayate.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Prapya punya kritam lokan.
Ushitva shashvata samha.
Usitva sasvati sama.
Shuchinam srimatam gehe.
Suchinam srimatam gehe.
Yoga Yoga Brashto Vijayate.
Yoga Brashto Vijayate. Prapya Punya Kritam Lokam. Usitva Sasati Samaha. Suchinam Srimatange. Yoga Brashto Vijayate.
प्राप्य पुण्य कृतं लोकान्
Prapya Punya Kritam Lokam.
क्षिप्त्वा शाश्वती समः
Usitva Sasati Samaha.
शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे
Suchinam Srimatange.
योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते
Yoga Brashto Vijayate.
प्राप्य पुण्य कृतं लोकान्
Prapya Punya Kritam Lokam.
क्षिप्त्वा शाश्वती समः
Usitva Sasvati Sama.
शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे
Suchinam Srimatange.
योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते
Yoga Brashto Vijayate.
प्राप्य पुण्य कृतं लोकान्
Prapya Punya Kritam Lokam.
उषित्वा शाश्वती समः
Usitva Sasvati Sama.
Suchinam
Suchinam Srimatange. Yoga Brashto Vijayate. Prapya.
After achieving
After achieving
Punya Kritam
Punya Kirtan
of those who perform pious activities.
of those who perform pious activities.
Lokan,
Lokan.
planets. Ushitva,
Usitva.
after dwelling.
After dwelling.
Shashvati,
Sasvati.
many. Sama,
Sama.
years. Suchina,
Suchinam
of the pious.
of the past.
Srimata,
Srimata.
of the prosperous.
Of the prosperous.
Gehe,
Gehe.
in the house of.
In
In the house of
Yoga Brashta,
Yoga Brashta.
one who has fallen from the
One
path
has
of
fallen.
self-realization.
One who has fallen from the path of self-realization.
Abhijayate,
Abhijayate.
takes his birth.
Takes his birth.
Translation: the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of rich aristocracy. Is it the same idea? Purport. The unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen after very little progress, and one is fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets, where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, he is sent back again to this planet to take birth in the family of a righteous Brahmin, Vaishnava, or aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and fail due to material allurements are allowed, by the grace of the Lord, to make full utilization of the material propensities. And after that, they are given opportunities to live prosperous lives in righteous or aristocratic families. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudlitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Vidam Dadati Sapanadikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Dhanandasya, Vitakadana, Shivasati, Yorokavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'd first like to ask permissions and blessings from all the devotees, but particularly those who are senior to me in age or in advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this is discussing in this verse the destination of an unsuccessful yogi. And there were two kinds. Did you remember the two kinds? Did you catch that, or were you listening? What are the two kinds of unsuccessful yogis? Yes?
One who practices briefly and one who practices long.
Yes, after a short period of time, and after quite a long endeavor process of Bhakti Yoga. So, the goal of yoga is not mentioned here specifically. This is telling us that just like within this Earth planet, there are different standards of living. Anywhere you go, people talk about socioeconomic status, you know, and you have, what are the classes usually people talk about? High class, upper class, middle class, and lower class, right? Isn't, you know this?
Yeah.
Upper class, middle class, lower. And what class are you?
We don't know.
Krishna.
Okay.
Devotees.
That's yeah. So similarly, you know, I mean, everybody's trying to get to a better position, right? That's in the material world. So similarly, within the universe also, there are different planets. And all those planets have different facilities. And some of the facilities are better than Earth. And some of them are about the same. And some are much worse, or worse than this. So we have the upper planets, the middle planetary system, and the lower planetary system, which goes down to the hellish planets. And Krishna already said, Urdhvam gachanti sattvasaha. Urdhvam means if you're situated in the mode of goodness, you can go up to the upper planetary systems. Madhyam tishtanti rajasa. And if you are in the mode of passion, you stay at the earthly level. Adho gachanti tamasa. And if you're cultivate the mode of ignorance, then you go down the lower planets or the hellish planets. So included in this verse is something very interesting. And you know what that is? This verse includes the idea that after this life, you continue to live.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Which is quite revolutionary in and of itself. In our lives, everybody, a smart person, is thinking, you know, I'm going to do something now so that my future living will be better. I think today, is somebody graduated today?
Yes,
Does that happen something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's that? Oh, very good. Congratulations to you. Congratulations. And so why do people take the trouble? I mean, you know, it's a lot of work to go through the educational process. I mean, you know, you start out when you're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and you go through you got to listen to what those people say, and try to, and they go on for years and years and years and years and years, and maybe you don't even believe what they have to say. And the teacher's going to be telling you, but still, you go on and you learn, and then you go for several more years. Why do people do that? Why do you go through all the trouble? Why? I don't know why.
Try to elevate yourself.
Yeah, you think this will make my future life better. So you're willing to take some austerity, some problems, some difficulty, so that in the future, your life will be much better. That's a natural idea. You know, we'll take some austerity. That's called shreyas, as opposed to preyas. Preyas means, you know, we want some immediate gratification. And shreyas means we're looking for a long-term benefit. So just like a person who's thinking of their future might go through a rigorous academic program so they become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and become well situated, and then they might be able to have a family nicely and maintain the family correctly, nicely. So, according to the Bhagavad Gita, an intelligent person should realize, because this body, this life is not all, we should be also preparing for what's happening in the future life. It's coming. It's definitely coming. No one can escape death. Lord Krishna was telling Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, for one who is born, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain. It's part of life. So then a question may come up. So if all of our efforts and our troubles are going to be finished at death, what's the use of our life? There's a famous myth in the Greeks. They call it the myth of Sisyphus. We had to learn this in high school about the myth of Sisyphus. Did you learn this in your school? Anyway, it's a particular hell that a person would be sent to, and the idea is that a person's in this particular hell would just be this big gigantic stone, it's circular or spherical, and the job of that person is to toil and push that stone, heavy stone, up a hill to get to the top with great, perspiration and endeavor. And then, you take a few breaths, and then you know what happens to the stone? That's right, it goes back down. And what do you have to do? The person has to push it up again.
Does it get rolled over, or did it roll over?
No, he didn't, at least in this one, he didn't get rolled over. Good point, though, could be. So anyway, this is a kind of a similarity to our life, because we can work very hard in the material sphere to get ahead and to acquire certain knowledge and acquire certain possessions and things, but at the time of death, we've got to go back down and start all over again in our next life. We're talking about materially. Srila Prabhupada also commented, you can go up to the upper planets, or also those are called the heavenly planets. Anybody want to go to heaven?
Everybody wants.
Heaven, upper planets, or heavenly planets. Something like, a little bit like Hawaii. Very nice, no problems, except of course here there's hurricanes and things. But Lord Krishna says that even you go to the heavenly planets, you can't live forever there. So, in some religions people are very interested in going to heaven. But in the Vedic concept, Krishna says that, don't become carried away with the description in the Vedas for heavenly life. In the heavenly planets, the duration of life is very long, and the material enjoyment you can have is thousands and thousands of times better than the enjoyment you have here. People have, there's a certain kind of beverage, that's called somaras.
Yeah.
You know this somaras? Sometimes people think, alcohol is somaras. But they go for somaras. But this conception of heaven, there's a problem with it. The problem is it doesn't continue to last. After you go to heaven, you'll come back down. And that it's infected by the same problem that causes all the problems we have in the first place. And that problem is that even those in the heavenly planets generally thinking that the purpose of their lives is to enjoy as much as possible on the material plane. That's the basic principle of our sojourn within this material universe in the first place. Actually, the soul's nature is to be a servant of God, not to be a servant of the senses. But illusion, whether in the heavenly planets or in the hellish planets or in the middle planets, with the idea that we're the supreme enjoyer, and the purpose of life is to try to enjoy the material platform, we waste our lives. And we circumambulate in the cycle of birth and death and rebirth and re-death again and again forever. So Prahlad Maharaj says, what is our real purpose in life? The real purpose in life is to put a stop to that cycle of birth and death, to get out of the material world altogether. So Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, this is very clear in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Puna Bhartino Arjuna. Oh, from the highest planet, the best planet you find in the material world, down to the lowest. All are places of misery where birth and death take place. But if you come to my abode, you don't have to take birth again. And there is a description of that, briefly described in the Bhagavad Gita, about that transcendental abode of the Supreme Lord. He says, Nata bhasyate suryo, na shashanko na alaka, tagadvali vivantante tatama paramamama. In that place, it's effulgent, self-effulgent. There's no need for sun, moon, or electric lights. Sun, moon, electricity. In the Vedic aphorism is Tamasi Ma. How does it go? Tamasi Ma. Jyoti Gama. Yeah, let's get out of the darkness. This universe, without the sun or the moon, it's dark. You know, electricity is dark. Everything is dark here. But in the spiritual realm, the real realm, the eternal realm, things are light, beautiful, effulgent, always. Tamasima, Jyoti Gama, Mrityuma. What is it?
Amritam Gamaya.
Amritam Gamaya. And go from death to death to eternal life, deathlessness. This is the purpose of this Bhagavad Gita teaching, how to go from death to deathlessness. This is very interesting. So, you know, there's these three levels: upper planetary system, middle planetary system, lower planetary system. Sometimes you have experience of the lower planetary system also, a little bit on this earth. You know, Srila Prabhupada was talking about a preacher in Wales. You know Wales? Yeah. Maybe some of you were Welsh back then. So in Wales they have a lot of coal mines. And there was a Christian preacher who was going to preach to the people in the coal mines. And they said, you know, you've got to accept Jesus Christ, otherwise you're going to go to hell. We're talking about, you know. So they said, well, what is hell? They had much education, exposure to this thing. What is hell? So they said, it's a very dark and damp place. So that's normal. They're working in the coal mine. That's normal. And then they said, if you drink too much, then you're going to go to hell. And the person said, well, my brother drinks, then he's going to hell. And my father drinks, well, he's going to hell. And my cousin drinks, well, he's going to hell too. So let's see, my father, my brother, they're all going to hell. Well, hell is heaven.
Everything.
And then he said, he was a little smart, he said, but you know, this is not now. Back in the 80s, right? Or the 70s. But there's no newspapers in hell. Oh, that's awful.
Oh my gosh.
So now you say, there's no internet in hell. That's yeah. So the hellish planets are go. How do you go to the hellish planets? Well, by your works now, by your activities now. It said that you can cultivate the tamogun. Tamogun is means the mode of ignorance. And Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita what kind of activities will develop within you the tamogun. It's something like COVID-19. Did anybody here have COVID-19?
Everybody.
Yeah, some people did, right?
Or something.
So you get infected by it, and then it kind of takes over, right? And you get so many symptoms. So similarly, there's an infection of the mode of ignorance that develops within a person, so that it propels one down to a lower type of existence. This is what's going to happen, and we can know it now. Krishna's explaining this to us for our benefit, so that we know how to avoid it. It's not nice to knowledge gets into lower positions. So he describes there's foods in the mode of ignorance. You know this? Food in the mode of ignorance. What is food in the mode of ignorance?
Bad alcohols,
What's that?
meat, alcohol.
Yeah, stuff that decays, like meat, eggs, fish. Those are foods in the mode of ignorance, and they develop to help you go down. There's sleep in the mode of ignorance. What is sleep in the mode of ignorance? Well, you don't have to sleep all day. People sleep, think that it's wonderful to be able to sleep an extra 10, 12 hours, right? Srila Prabhu talked about it. He said these laborers in Calcutta who are working on a salary, right? And so they're supposed to do deliveries to different shops. And then there's a big park in the middle of Calcutta. So somebody would be they give a laborer to deliver something, and they'd go and they'd sleep all day. And then they come back and say, "What took you so long?" "Well, the person wasn't there. I had to wait, blah, 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 make up to." So they're thinking, they're getting paid for their job, and they're also getting to sleep an extra 5, 6, 7 hours. That's happiness. That's happiness. You ask somebody, what is your source of happiness? And they say, my source of happiness is sleep. Well, when you're sleeping, it's almost like you're dead. What is that happiness? This is happiness in the mode of ignorance. And then, of course, there's intoxications of all kinds that propel you down to the mode of ignorance. So in the Krishna consciousness movement, we talked about yam niyam. The beginning part of Krishna consciousness is to avoid those things that are going to propel you down to the lower modes. For example, no meat, fish, or eggs. No intoxication. No illicit sex, and no gambling. Just by following those principles alone, you're cultivating the modes of goodness to help you go up. So this is, Krishna is giving some explanation here. He said that the people who start the practice of yoga, they don't lose that advancement. We were talking about your material advancement, you lose everything. Well, the nice thing about this information is this yoga practice, especially bhakti yoga, is any advancement you make, you don't lose it. You got it, you kept it, you get it. It's your eternal bank account. It stays with you. So even if you don't make full progress, you don't make your way back to the spiritual world in this life, you get your chance in your next life to continue where you left off. So he said that you can go to a higher planet and get your material desire satisfied, and then you come back and start again where you started. Isn't it? The two kinds. One was they might take birth in the family of rich people. Why rich people?
So that no need to struggle for the basic needs.
Yeah. But there's a little problem with that is that sometimes when people are born in a rich family or wealthy family, then they get distracted. They don't have to work hard. They think they become a little bit distracted by their material amenities. So it's not necessarily, some people think, why should that person be born in, that person's been born in a rich family, that's very lucky. Well, not necessarily. In our Krishna consciousness movement, there's a few rich people who've joined, not that many, but some. And for example, Anybody drive a Ford car? Oh, yeah, Ford. You got a Ford? Yeah. So the great grandson of Henry Ford, the great grandson of Henry Ford, he joined the Hare Krishna movement back in the 70s. Yeah. His name, and he got the initiated name of Ambarish. Ambarish was a great king, so he gave him the and among his family members, he said that practically he's the only one in his generation that hasn't become like an alcoholic or blah 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 blah. Because so being born in a rich family isn't necessarily always an asset, spiritually. But the other kind of yogi who makes further progress, they'll take birth. They could take birth in the family of transcendentalists. Those who are a family that's practicing spiritual life, so that right off the bat they get an opportunity to pick up again where they left off. No, that's a great opportunity. When you get started early, things become easy. Just like anybody here, you play instruments? Anybody? Musical instruments? Oh, come on, I'm sure you do. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, periods. So if you're playing music, if your person learns music in their early childhood, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that time, then they can get it later in life pretty easy. But if you don't have that, if you don't have that training early, it's much harder later in life to adjust, to get the tones, to get the beat, to get all those things. So that's true in music. It's also true in languages. Did anybody learn the language when you were a kid? Yes? English? Yeah. You can pick it up. Kids can pick it up quite easy. But later it's trouble. It's trouble. It's hard. So there's certain things. So similarly, if one is taught from the very beginning that about how to engage in devotional service, how to offer all your food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead before eating, how to chant the holy names of the Lord regularly, how to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and try to understand engaging in devotional service, then the path becomes very easy later in life. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, a great devotee of the Lord, he said, Kaumara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha. He said it's very good if from the very beginning of life, a child, a boy, girl, can be trained in Krishna consciousness, because that will make their life very valuable and can help them go back to Godhead. So there's a third thing also. It's not mentioned here in this. So these are generally two paths that take place. One is that a person might be born in a heavenly planet and then enjoy and come back in a rich family, or they might be born in a family of transcendentalists. There's another path also for someone who's an unsuccessful yogi who hasn't become perfect, and that is they may go to the heavenly planets and from there go back to Godhead.
Yeah.
That's not very common.
Right.
But you know where this is, Srila Prabhupada talked about this. There was a devotee, his name was Jayananda. Have you heard of Jayananda? You know Jayananda. He was especially proficient in developing the Rath Yatra festivals, which Srila Prabhupada spread all over the world with his help and other devotees' help. So in like 1977, he had cancer of the blood, and he passed away before Srila Prabhupada left, in May of 1977. So Srila Prabhupada heard about that, and he wrote a letter, and he said, no, because I remember you were the first person who gave me a donation to print my books. He said that. And but because of your practice of Krishna consciousness, it might be that you might go to the heavenly planets. And then from there you could go back to Godhead. Or you might go to the heavenly planets and then come to this earth and again take up again your spiritual practice of bhakti yoga. He said that. But he said, but I don't think either one. I think because you were hearing the Hare Krishna mantra at the time you left your body, and you had done so much service, therefore I think it's likely you went back home to Godhead, back to the spiritual world. Which is actually each one of your jobs, that's your main job in this life, is to finish your business, just like they used to have outhouses. Do you still have outhouses anymore? No. No outhouses? A long time, yeah. So when you outhouse, you go to an outhouse and you finish your business, and you hang out in the outhouse? Yeah. And you get out. You finish your business and get out. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur compared this world to be like an outhouse. You finish your business and you get out. You get out. Yeah. And what is that business? The business is to engage in Krishna consciousness, to engage in devotional service to the Lord. There's an interesting analogy that they say in Bengal. You know what a denki is?
Deki?
Yeah, what is that?
You can make a rice out of.
It's a thrasher, right?
Yeah.
Thrasher. Yeah. So, if there's the I don't know the Bengali, you might know the Bengali. It says, if you take a thrasher, a machine that thrashes wheat or rice, and you take it to heaven, what does it do there?
It will do the same
What does
thing.
it do?
Same thing.
It's the same thing. You take the thrasher to heaven, it's the same thing. So similarly, in your work, if you're doing devotional service to Krishna, which is the natural function of the living entity, wherever you go back to Godhead, and you're doing the same thing. So since you're going to be doing it there in the spiritual world, better get good at it right now. Practice right now. And then you can use that in your next life. Kayavalyam narakayate, akasa kridasha pushpayate. Prabodhananda Saraswati, an associate of Lord Chaitanya, said, a devotee, he thinks impersonal liberation is like hell. Why hell? Because in hell, things are very tough, and it's very difficult to do devotional service. Kayavalyam narakayate, akasa kridasha pushpayate. And the heavenly planets that you might be interested in going to. In fact, Krishna criticizes going to the heavenly planets in the Bhagavad Gita. Did you know that? He said, Yanti deva rata devan, pitri yanti pitrata, bhutani yanti bhuteja.
Yanti madhya.
Yanti madhya. If you go to worship the demigods, you can go to the demigods' planets. If you worship the ghosts, you'll go to them. But if you worship me, you'll come to my planet. Yeah. So Krishna is recommending that. He recommends this for us, that in this human form of life, prepare for your next life. It's coming. It is coming. 5 years, 5 years, 5 days, 5 years. It's coming. Before your next death, practice devotional service to get the best results for your next life. It might be you might not finish it in this life, but you get to start again. Or if you can finish it in this life, like we're saying, finish your business and get out, then you can have a life of transcendental bliss in association with Krishna and his devotees. I'm going to that way. So, thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is there a question or comment or addition, subtraction? Go to heaven.
No heaven.
Hopefully we'll go back to Krishna's.
Yeah.
Wherever you aim, right? If you're aiming for the best, you can aim for the best. Krishna recommends that. He says, Sarva dharman parijaya mam ekam sharanam. Aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshaye. He says so many places in Bhagavad Gita. Jagyatat karmanam yatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Whatever you do, if it's not done for him, then it causes bondage. Now, bondage doesn't sound very nice, right? It binds you to the material world. Well, you know, the whole point in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says again and again, is to free yourself from the bondage of the material world. Why? Because the material world is not a good place, ultimately. It's hard to think that way. It's challenging to think that way, but sometimes it's, you know, it stares us right in the face that we can't avoid it. You know, when there's death, when there's trouble, when there's difficulty. That's the nature of this place. As long as we stay here, we'll be there. So can we get out of that? Let's try. Questions, comments? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
We're gonna have kirtan.